Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. This is Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. In Kumasi, we're live on Love 99.5 FM in over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Amenuveve FM in Aflao, Jubilee Radio in Keta, Radio Max in Takrady, and ATL FM in Cape Coast. Go digital on Spotify and myjoyonline.com app. This afternoon, Ghana abstains from crucial UN Human Rights Council vote seeking to expel Russia from the global body's Human Rights Council. We find out what this decision means for Ghana's diplomatic relations. This afternoon, also, parts of Accra flooded following mid-morning rains that lasted about half an hour. We're live on the ground. Parliament House, Communications Ministry, University of Ghana, and the UNDP and other 35 institutions have 3 days to settle their indebtedness to the Electricity Company of Ghana or face disconnection.
Come and redeem themselves before the task force gets to them, because we're not going to show any mercy to anyone who is owing us.
We'll bring you more details and tell you how much they owe as some foreign embassies and missions are caught up in the web.
For the embassies, we'll come after them if they are hearing us, or if they should just come to our offices and make payments.
We have details of that also in the bulletin. When dreams become a reality.
I've always dreamt of going to Harvard College to do my pre-med and also any other Ivy League school. So in my own small way, I worked very hard so that the grades would be good.
I'll tell you how Francisca Lamini gained admission to 4 universities abroad after a sterling performance at the 2021 National Science and Maths Quiz. In sports,
the super clash between Asante Kotoko and Accra House of Folk has been moved from 6 p.m. to 3 p.m. kickoff time. We have details in 20 minutes.
Hit song with new voices to spice it up. The Sugarcane remix will tell you about the artists who have joined Camido on this new release, and much later. We'll hear from family of veteran actor Sam Ajetifio, who passed away this morning.
Just give me 10,000.
10,000? You must be crazy. 10,000 from here to Napa.
We have that and more in this afternoon's edition of the Midday News with me, Emefa Apao. Many thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Details shortly. Thanks for choosing us. Let's get into the stories, the details of the stories this afternoon. And Ghana is part of 58 countries in the world that have abstained from voting against Russia's suspension from the UN Human Rights Council. In all, 93 voted in favor, while 24 countries voted against the suspension. Russia joined the body in January 2021 as one of 15 countries elected by the General Assembly to serve 3-year terms. But under the 2006 resolution that established the council, the UN's General Assembly can suspend a country from membership if it commits gross and systematic violations of human rights. The decision to suspend Russia was arrived at during a special emergency session on the war in Ukraine following reports of violations committed by Russian forces where disturbing photos emerged from a city of Bucha, a suburb of the capital Kiev, where hundreds of civilian bodies were found in the streets and in mass graves. Already, we're hearing that Germany says they've intercepted some videos between Russian officials plotting that particular act. But let's hear from Ghana's permanent representative to UN Nation Security Council, Ambassador Harold Ajiman, speaking earlier on Russia's invasion into Ukraine.
We believe that on account of the information before us, a determination of Ukraine's biological programs can only be made after further assessment by relevant institutions, such as the World Health Organization, to establish the situation of the biological laboratories under consideration and the state of infectious disease research that were being undertaken therein. It is in this regard that we urge the parties to respect the call for an unconditional and immediate ceasefire and for the Russian Federation to withdraw all of its invading troops from the internationally recognized borders of Ukraine, bearing in mind the incalculable consequences that an accidental or deliberate release of chemical or biological agents in the conflict theater could have on the populations in and around Ukraine. but also on global stability and an already fragile security environment.
So that's Ambassador Harold Ajimande, Ghana's permanent representative to UN Nation Security Council, earlier on Russia's invasion into Ukraine. So the latest is that Ghana is part of these countries that have abstained from voting against Russia's suspension from the UN Human Rights Council. I bet you would want to know why Ghana took that particular decision. Shortly, we'll be joined on the phone by the Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister, Kweku Amprichum Sapong, on this particular development and what it means for Ghana in terms of our diplomatic relations, this particular decision that we've decided to take. But let me take you round Accra now before we head back to Russia and that decision made by Ghana. It's been raining today and some parts of the city we know are flooded. Just days earlier, we spoke to NADMO, which says that they are ready for this particular situation in terms of dealing with Accra's flooding. The Ghana Meteorological Agency had issued warnings about similar actions that will be taking, amongst others, and also the storms and the weather pattern that is supposed to be expected. My colleague Michael Papaniashale is on the ground for us. He will join us shortly with details. We are also hearing that in Kolebu Teaching Hospital, some parts of the departments have been flooded, and we'll take you there as well. But let me see if we have Michael Papaniashale joining us on the line. We don't have him just yet, but wherever you are, I'm sure you've been hitting us also with your messages in terms of the situation where you are. Is 055-1111-997. But let's talk about power, because it's a massive revenue collection and disconnection exercise by the Electricity Company of Ghana, and no one, big or small, will be spared. Already, institutions like Parliament House, the Communications Ministry, the University of Ghana, and the United Nations Development Programme's Office, plus 31 others, have until Monday to settle their indebtedness to ECG or face disconnection. Combined, they owe ECG over 70 million cedis, and despite several reminders, they have failed to settle their debt. My colleague Elton Brobe is becoming a debt collector today, and she's been looking at the demand notice and joins me in studio for a chat on this. So, Elton, you've been looking at the figures. Run us through the institutions mentioned and how much they owe the ECG.
So this is a figure provided by the ECG. According to the Ministry of Communication, owes them 5.8 million Ghana cedis. The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, 558,000 Ghana cedis. National Information Technology Agency, 1.5 million. Internal Audit Agency, 545,000 Ghana cedis. Kofi Annan Center of Excellence, over 200,000 Ghana cedis. IOCO, over 300,000 Ghana cedis. Now, there are also 29 institutions: the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration, Ministry of Education, University of Ghana, embassies, among others, Parliament, all are owing ECG, and they run up the figure to around 70 million Ghana cedis. That's
huge. But ECG has also given a breakdown of the exercise so far in terms of a recovery. Tell us more.
So, an internal audit highlighting the performance of revenue projection activities from last year showed that the task force visited and monitored 135,000 meters, and they detected 15,000 illegalities and anomalies. Now, the amount of money involved is 74 million Ghana cedis, and these charges were raised against defaulters and illegal power operators, and payments of 66.5 million Ghana cedis was received, with the rest of the debt on schedule to be redeemed. Now, in that course, 62.7 million kilowatts of power per hour units were recovered. Now, between January and March this year, they reviewed that the task force visited and monitored 30,707 meters, and they detected 2,235 illegalities and anomalies. Now, the amount of money involved is 10.587 million Ghana cedis, and these were charges raised against debtors and illegal operators, and they've so far recovered 6.9 million Ghana cedis of that debt redeemed, and the rest on schedule to be fulfilled. In the process, 9,302 kilowatts of power were recovered.
Well, you have ears and eyes almost everywhere, so it looks like diplomatic missions are involved, educational institutions, MMDAs, amongst others. What are your sources telling you as to why the difficulty in redeeming this, debts?
So, according to the ECG, because these embassies more like a sovereign, entity of their own, if you want to go into their premises. So they've written to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Security to allow them go in and undertake the disconnection exercise, because they've written to them and they're talking about hundreds of them in the country. Virtually almost you have all the embassies owing ECG, and they've decided that they will not pay. So the ECG have written to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and National Security, and they've given the go ahead.
But even the Foreign Affairs is owing them.
They also owing them. It's very interesting, including Parliament. So the response they got from National Security and Foreign Affairs gave them the final authority to write to them. So they have from today till Monday to make good their payment plan. Otherwise, now ECG have the authority to walk into their premises and disconnect them from the national grid.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Elton Brobe there. But Public Relations Officer with the Accra West Division of the ECG, Mary Shenopong, tells Joy News institutions like the Airport Company Limited must make additional payment to avoid disconnection.
Those 27 institutions, some have come to make payments, others too have paid part, and we've given them debt schedule, like we've given them some period to be able to pay the debt. And for now, we've added another 29 institutions to the list, which we are going after them because they are also owing. And for them, we have institutions such as Parliament, most of the ministries, and they are not just the institutions. We also have individuals like politicians, MPs who are owing. So we just appeal to them to come and redeem themselves before the task force gets to them, because we're not going to show any mercy to anyone who is owing us. When the task force come, as I said earlier, we will engage you, and if you are able to make some significant payments, we will leave you and then give you some time to clear the debts, and then we connect you. But if you don't comply with the task force, that is when we go ahead to disconnect you.
Also, some embassies and foreign missions have refused to pay for power consumed. The ECG says despite the diplomatic impediments, they will still go ahead and take them off the grid if the demand for payment is not respected.
We have some embassies also owing us, and for the embassies, we'll come after them. So we're just appealing to them. If they are hearing us or if they are listening to this news, they should just come to our offices and make payments, because we have a very tall list of embassies that are owing ECG. When the right time comes, we'll name them. Like when we visit their premises, we'll name them. So now for today, we served disconnection notices to some institutions, which we have given them 3 days, that's 3 working days, to make payments. After the 3 days, if they don't show up, then we can also go ahead to disconnect. With some other institutions too, we've given them demand notices.
That's Mary Ishen. She's the Public Relations Officer of the Accra West Division of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Speaking of diplomatic missions and related matters, I've been telling you that Ghana is part of a number of countries, that 58 countries in the world that have abstained from voting against Russia's suspension from the UN Human Rights Council. So, 93 voted in favor, while 24 countries voted against the suspension. I'm sure you've been following this Russia-Ukraine war and the decision by the UN to suspend Russia. Well, let's take a look at Ghana's decision and its implication for our diplomatic relations with countries that voted and those who did not vote. Let's bring in the international relations analyst, Professor Vladimir Inchidanso. We are grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So first, let's talk about your own reading into Ghana's decision to remain neutral in this situation.
Well, basically, voting at the UN has a lot of dimensions. You may decide to vote based on your basic principles, the basic principles of your foreign policy. You may also vote on an issue just because you believe the issue would inure to your benefit or be detrimental to your foreign policy. Again, you check the wording of the issue. It may be a resolution coming from one member. And if the wording does not suit your aspirations, you may either abstain or force the wording to be changed. So there are several considerations that create the condition for voting. In this instance, I can imagine Ghana decided to abstain because either they didn't like the wording or they just felt what would inure to the basics of our foreign policy would be bad. because expelling Russia from the Council, does it give us anything? Does it give the Union, the United Nations anything? And remember, Ghana's foreign policy is hinged on 4 main pillars: Pan-Africanism, non-alignment, good neighborliness, and multilateralism. So Ghana will be looking at the multilateralist side of the voting. That is, would it inure to the benefit of the UN? And if it doesn't, Ghana may abstain. On the contrary, also, our representatives over there may receive definite instruction from the government to say vote in this direction. And so I am not surprised at the turn of events. In the earlier voting, we voted to condemn the aggression, which again answers to our multilateralist pillar. And in this one, I strongly suspect that either the wedding or the UN itself was the thing we were looking at. We were looking at what does it mean to the UN as an organization.
Well,
Ghana must have abstained just because the UN doesn't benefit from such.
Well, what then does it say about our support or otherwise for Russia and its invasion of Ukraine?
No, there's nothing showing that we are supporting Russia. In the earlier voting, you remember, we voted to condemn the aggression just because Article 2.4 does not allow any member of the United Nations to attack the other.
What does it say then about...
The UN condemns every such action, and therefore we supported the UN. I told you that one of our pillars is multilateralism.
Of course, but are we being consistent in this particular decision? First, we were against the invasion, then now you're supposed to vote to suspend Russia and you abstain. Are we being consistent then?
The suspension is not from the UN. The suspension is basically the UN Human Rights Council. And as I'm saying, there is a possibility that the wedding was not universally acceptable, or probably we will see that expulsion of Russia does not inure to the benefit of the UN itself. So there is no inconsistency here.
It does not pose any dire consequences for us as a country in terms of our diplomatic relations?
No. I don't think anybody... I mean, we all hate the situation where, for example, voting on Israel, and you got the U.S. representative, Ambassador Haley, threatening every country, especially the developing countries, who vote against the U.S. position.
Okay. Well, we are grateful for your time. Professor Vladimir Enchidanso there is an international relations analyst. We've been talking about Ghana's decision to abstain from voting against Russia's suspension of the UN Human Rights Council. We'll hear from the Foreign Affairs Ministry exactly on why they decided to take that decision. You've been hearing analysis from Professor Vladimir Enchidanso and not having any dire consequences for the country in our diplomatic relations. But let's turn our attention to health. And medical officials at the Bank Hospital here in Accra have reviewed the worrying phenomenon of kidney disease among young people in the country. According to them, the number of young people contracting the disease is on the ascendancy. Speaking at the launch of an ultramodern renal center at the facility, senior staffer there, Dr. Charlotte Osafo, cautioned the public to take preventive steps.
A lot of people have hypertension, but they don't control their hypertension. So it is important that if you are diabetic, you also have to do certain things like reducing your salt intake, reducing your weight, regular exercise, because diabetes is also one of the causes of kidney failure.
Meanwhile, Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Nsiasare, who spoke at the launch, disclosed government's plans to institute an insurance system to cater for patients undergoing dialysis.
The cost of treating one patient on renal dialysis for a year is about 50,700, and I'm sure most families cannot afford that 50,700 for one patient alone. That's 3 times dialysis a week for 1 year. It's huge. It's very out of the reach of people. So we also want to also set up maybe a renal fund or get an insurance system which will take care of the renal cases.
He also indicated government's intention to constitute a law to regulate the donation of kidneys to patients who may have to undergo kidney transplants.
When a patient is on renal dialysis, the ultimate would have been to have a transplant. As we speak now, I think apart from Kolebu, who has done some few transplant cases with assistance from people from the diaspora, we don't have any standalone renal transplant unit. But before we can do that, we have to put the legislature in place. I know that when I was in Ghana Health Service, we started something like that. We want to finish it as quickly as possible so that we can have the law out of Parliament, which will be backing it, so that nobody will go and catch somebody on the street and go and remove the kidney to sell.
That's Dr. Anthony Insiasare, Presidential Advisor on Health, on that kidney transplant note. We'll take a quick break here on the Midday News. But first, let me take you on a quick tour of Accra. It's been a raining day today, and some parts of the city, we are told, are flooded. Michael Papani Ashali is on the ground for us. Michael, where have you been, and what's the situation?
Yeah, so we have been to the Zongo areas around Kamishi, all the way to Gaskia, and some parts of Abusoka as well. And the situation is very grim for some of the residents over there. Drains overflowing with water. Some of even the road that passes to the main town was really visible to some of the drivers, causing traffic. Some of these homes were filled with water and sand. Some of them are still reeling from the aftermath of the torrential rainfall.
That's Michael Papani Ashali at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We are told that the account office, the child health department, amongst others, the oncology department, endoscopy unit is also flooded, and that something must be done about the situation. We'll take a quick break here on the Midday News. Our top stories we've been looking at so far. Ghana abstains from crucial UN Human Rights Council vote seeking to suspend Russia from the Global Human Rights Council, and we've been finding out what this decision means for Ghana's diplomatic relations. When we return, we have sports, and then also the hit song with new voices to spice it up.
Senorita, mamacita, body bad and the craze for your features. Nice to meet you, Jimmy Sika, only one I see for my future.
We'll talk about the Sugarcane remix and tell you about the artists who have joined Camido on this new release. And later we'll hear from family of veteran actor Salma Jetifio, who passed away this morning.
Accra needs my services.
This bulletin is live in the Volta region on Jubilee Radio Keta, Volta Premier and Kekali Radio in Ho, Lolonyo FM in Hohoi, Pando FM in Pando, Fafa Radio in Joje, Radio Hogba in Angloga, Klenam Radio Bato, Victory FM Aplao. In the Eastern region, we're on K-Poly Radio in Kofroidua. In the Northern region, we're on Bishara Radio, Radio 123 and Radio Justice in Tamale. And in Savannah region, we're on Inkelege FM in Bole. In the Upper East region, we're live on A1 Radio and Dreams FM in Bogatanga and Radio Fumbese in Fumbese. In Upper West, we're live on Radio Sonmale in Wa, Radio Freed in Nandom, Radio Wa in Wa, and Bolu FM in Bolu. In the Bono East region, we're on Gaskia FM in Techiman. In Bono region, we're on Sky FM and Parrots FM in Sunyai. Central region, we're live on ATL FM in Cape Coast. And in the Western region, we're on Radio Max in Takrady.
This is Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. It's the Midday News, also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. It's time for sports. Muftau is here.
And MFA, this weekend, the biggest game in the calendar of Ghana football will be happening at the Bawayara Sports Stadium. The initial kickoff for the tie between Accra Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko was 6 p.m. But the Ghana FA has released a statement saying that they have decided to change the kickoff time from 6 to 3 p.m. because the Ghana Police Service has advised them to do so. The statement added that the match coordination meeting will be held at 10 a.m. on Sunday at the Bawayara Sports Stadium. All stakeholders are to take note of the change in time accordingly. That's a statement from the Ghana Football Association.
You see, when you have a Kotoko producer who's all of a sudden just, loving phobia.
His DNA is Kotoko. Quite surprising that he chose...
the two of you, Kotoko. But I'm happy that you're supporting phobia. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you. Something will happen.
Something will happen.
It will definitely happen. Thank you very much, Muftau, with the latest from the world of sports. Enjoy your weekend. Now, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, AMA, has arrested 4 persons in Old Fadama here in Accra for operating pan latrines, which have been outlawed. The excreta from these latrines are mostly dumped into the stagnant Korle Lagoon. Michael Ashali has excerpts of that covert operation.
It has come to our notice that people around the Old Fadama enclave, some of them are still operating the pan latrine.
So what you see is an island of fecal matter. These facilities in particular belong to state security men.
What they are doing is a galvanized open defecation. Ask who is the owner of this toilet. 2019, the military man was summoned to the office and he promised he would do it. 2020, we were with him. We've been with him.
Amidu and his colleague here, although unhappy, they say the latrines were their only source of livelihood.
It be my work I do. I do shop before I go get something.
I swear my creator, since my mother bore me, I'm not a criminal. Because of that, you are cutting me now. Then you handcuff me. But go judge. Why you are clipping me like this? What about iron robbers?
There are about 10 more of such latrines dotted along the Korle Lagoon. One of the residents, while alluding to getting diarrhea and cholera, say the latrines were their only affordable place of convenience.
Oh, Musa. And yes, I ain't baby on toilet. Only dear Musa and a qualify.
Michael Papania Shale with our Joy Clean Ghana campaign for today. Francisca Lamini, the Keta Senior High School finalist at the 2021 National Science and Maths Quiz, says she's glad the work she put into making her dream a reality has paid off. Indeed, it has. Speaking on the Super Morning Show, she recounts how impossible she thought her dream of becoming a medical doctor would be. Listen.
Because of my background, I didn't know how possible that would be, but I've always prayed to God, and having that belief, I always worked hard to make good grades because I believed God makes a way when there is no way. So in my own small way, I worked very hard so that the grades would be good, and I knew God would bring angels my way to make my dream a reality.
How many schools have so far offered you places?
I got an offer from NYU Abu Dhabi, New York University, and also from Cornell and Stanford and Harvard.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about how it felt when the offers started coming in.
I was very shocked myself. I was so overwhelmed because I wasn't expecting so much.
That's Francisca Lamini. Congratulations once again, girl. We're all happy for you. Now, we'll talk about that hit song, Sugarcane, by musician Camido. I bet you all love it. He's been joined by King Promise, Mayokun, and Daku Vibe for a remix of the song.
You never know, so you come pass up. Man, them so far to find your love. Senorita, mamacita, body bad and the craze for your features. Nice to meet you, Dimisika. Only one I deceive for my future.
Now, remember this voice?
Just give me 10,000.
10,000? You must be crazy. 10,000 from here to La Paz. I mean, the last time I took a taxi from here to Dakuman, I paid 5,000.
My dear lady, if you want the same car, drop down. Go find out. But if you want to sit inside this My Super Deluxe taxi, you forpay the 10,000.
That's veteran actor Salm Ajetefio, popularly known as TT, the taxi driver. He passed on this morning. The actor in recent times had been infamous for sharing his financial predicament with the public, brewing a lot of controversies. However, TT will be remembered mostly for his roles in popular TV series Taxi Driver and movies including A Stab in the Dark and Papa Lasisi. Here's his son, Ni Ajetefio, Ajay Ajetefio, confirming his demise to Joy Entertainment a while ago.
It's true, he passed this morning. He passed on at home. I went to his room and I saw him in that state. So we took him to the hospital, but he had already passed at home.
Accra needs my services.
And that's veteran actor Salm Ajetifu's last words there. He's passed on, died at age 74. There's more on myjoyonline.com. That's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News on that rather sad note. On myjoyonline.com, stories making the headline. The veteran actor Salm Ajetifu dies at age 74. Judiciary perceived to be biased, a big threat to national security. That's according to Kandapa. I acknowledge that we are going through challenging times. That's according to Baumia. And Akufo-Addo has built more factories than Nkrumah. Other presidents, Gabi Ochre-Darkon. That and more on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau. Many thanks for your company. Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil. As always, is up next. Please stay for it.
Hello, please, am I speaking to Miss Joanna Kuma?
Yes, please.